Hello and welcome back to my channel. I am Mercedes and this is the Frugal Life with Mercedes. So today we are going to talk about gray divorce. So gray divorce is on the rise. Gray divorce essentially means that more people 50 and up are starting to get divorced. Now these could be people that have been together since they were teenagers, been together for many years, have grown children, have grandchildren, and it's not just people that are in their 50s, it's 50 and above. That is what gray divorce is. Now, why is gray divorce becoming so prevalent? One, it's because people are living longer. So maybe in our grandmother or great-grandmother's time, they would be married to somebody, but you wouldn't necessarily, you'd be married for a long time because you were getting married younger, but you weren't necessarily living till 90. It depends. You know what I mean? Especially if you go back even further. People are living longer. People of a certain age are also becoming in better health. We have a lot more people that are our grandparents that are in excellent shape. I'm talking about 70-year-olds that are marathon runners and bodybuilders, and people are living longer, living healthier lives. Not everybody, but you know what I mean. There was a time where you would say, like, this is my grandma, and she would be in a wheelchair or barely able to walk, have staggering health issues. And even though there are still some grandparents and great-grandparents that are in that position, it is far less. My mother became a grandmother in her early 50s, and she is sexy and vibrant, and you know what I mean? And a grandmother doesn't look like what we think a grandmother looks like. Do you know what I mean? Like, they're very vibrant, and so are the grandpas. As people get older and go into different stages of life, and this can happen when you're younger too, people change. Priorities change, temperaments change, hormones change, especially for women when we go through menopause. We can have all sorts of different changes. Men sometimes will go through a different sexual peak, or women will go through a sexual peak, and all of a sudden you guys are not aligning. So what brought you together, your values, your interest in each other, similar interests, they will change over time. Also, another thing is too, once people start retiring, sometimes people are not on the same page. You might have one person that's like, okay, we're retired now, we're going to travel the world. And the other person's like, I've been working for 40 years, I just want to sit and watch reality TV. Well, that's going to be a problem if one person wants to travel the world and the other person wants to sit around, and you guys can't come up with a common, a compromise so that you both are getting what you want. Also, health issues. If one of you has a lot of health issues and the other person is, still very vibrant and wanting to go out and do things, that can be a problem. I also want to point out that we have a lot more options now. There are still groups of people who shun people that get divorced or think that it's wrong, or are very judgmental about it, but that's far and few between. Before, people would stay married because they kind of had to, due to social pressure, religious pressure, different things like that, and those are starting to lift. Now, that doesn't mean that people don't value marriage. It's just people are realizing, if I'm married to this person and they don't love me, they don't value me, they don't listen to me, we basically are roommates, you have a choice to leave that situation. And I am one of those people. I am not impressed when someone says that their grandparents were married for 50 or 60 years. I'm sorry. That is not an accomplishment if they do not like each other. If grandpa's had 6 affairs and children outside of the marriage, the grandma is popping Percocets and heavily drinking, that's not a functioning marriage. And if they are refusing to talk, they haven't slept in the same bedroom since the kids were babies, okay, you're married and you're married for a long time, but is it a functioning marriage? Is it Are you getting something out of it? And you should be getting something out of marriage. And I understand that there's people that are like, you're young, or you haven't been married 30 years. No, those things are true. But I think that people are realizing that you can get more out of a marriage than maybe you thought that you could. I also want to point out that legally, women were not able to seek divorces until depending upon the state that you lived in, the 70s and 80s. Now, I understand that that was a long time ago, but when you're saying that like your great-grandparents were married for 60 years, and then you hear stories about one of them, whether it be the grandma or the grandpa, and they weren't that great of a person, they probably couldn't leave the situation. Women also have a lot more independence now. Most women work. A lot of women have degrees, have businesses, have things to fall back on. They are no longer obligated to stay with a man who doesn't treat them well because they have their own money and we have legal rights. Now, the same thing with men. If a man left a situation, he automatically had to pay alimony. Those things are very far and few between. You have to be pretty wealthy to pay alimony now. You still would have to pay child support depending upon the situation, but times are changing, laws are changing. There is more equality in a relationship, and there should be. But it's really staggering the fact that like women couldn't even leave a relationship. Like they had to basically prove that that man was like assaulting them on a daily basis, or they could not leave. And even in those situations, the likelihood of them getting custody of their children was very small. If you go back and look at divorce laws, you would be absolutely blown away, in all honesty. So that is why gray divorce is on the rise. So if you are in a situation where maybe your parents are getting divorced, or your grandparents are getting divorced, or somebody, a loved one that is older and they've been married for a really long time and you are kind of baffled, instead of judging, instead of having all these preconceived notions, hear them out. Hey, this person has not been treating me well, like basically since we got married and we've been together for all these years. Or, whatever it might be. That doesn't mean that you can't be sad about it, and that doesn't mean you can't have feelings about it. But nobody should stay married because their children want them to, whether they're young children or grown children. Especially you grown children, don't pressure your parents to stay married because it looks good, or because it sounds good, or because of your feelings. We need to think about other people's feelings in this situation, because unless you're married to that person, you don't really know what it's like. Okay, guys? So thank you so much for watching. Please consider subscribing to my channel. And until next time, bye.